Okay, today's video we're going to talk about conversion tracking software, or if you want to call it tools or platforms. Basically tools like Hyros, What Converts, Funnel.io. Anything that's basically supposed to funnel in the data about the traffic sources that you have coming to your website, PPC, which can be broken down into Facebook ads, Google ads, Taboola ads, LinkedIn ads, wherever you're advertising, as well as Google organic data, Bing organic data, and so forth, and lets you see what purchases you have coming in from each place and at what cost, and what the lead cost is coming from each source. These softwares, while they seem great at their surface, aren't great at all when you really understand the facts that they aren't going to tell you. Otherwise it would make their products irrelevant. So if you're looking for the true information as to whether or not you want to get one of these softwares or a software like it, this is the information that you want to for sure see before you go ahead and drop the money. And then of course the bigger cost is setting up all the time and learning the software. And then even greater than that is relying on the data, which are going to make false decisions using this data. I can't stress enough. The reason why these don't work is the data is not accurate. It's accurate a little bit, but not nearly enough, and certainly can do more damage than good if you don't understand the weaknesses of these software and take them to heart completely. So I'm going to explain why that is on this video here today. The premise of to have a single software to cross-compare your results between all your traffic sources is appealing. I know. That's why there's 15 million of these software companies that offer to do it. And some of them are pretty big. The problem with this is what these softwares, I don't care which software it is, they all have the same weaknesses. If you want to pick a fight, one of you software companies want to get with me and leave in the comment and explain why I'm wrong, do it, because I would love to have a debate here. But the reality is they know what the weaknesses are. They just aren't telling you it. It's like cheap SEO services that everybody's been fooled by. Everybody wants to buy a cheap SEO service, but if it's too good to be true, at the end of the day, they tell you what you want to hear. They hide all the bad shit. Classic sales 101. Anyway, weaknesses as it comes to these tracking softwares. The problem is cookies, what the software used to identify when somebody gets to your site, that if they come back and buy, that they can tie those two sessions on your website together as coming from that same person. So you could track where that person came from initially. They don't work well anymore overall. And most people don't actually buy on their first visit. So if cookies don't work because they're using a different browser where it doesn't work, or they delete their cookies, or a lot of times the device will reject the cookies, which a lot of people don't talk about. At the end of the day, the cookies don't work very much at all if you really dig down and get into researching it. And most people don't purchase from you after coming to your site the first time. It really irritates me sometimes when we get clients that are firm, which I shouldn't talk about any client, but it still irritates me. Some people just absolutely want to believe that if somebody comes to your site and even if they're typing in, I want to buy X, most of those people aren't going to buy right away. You have to make a conscious effort to understand what you're going to do to market to get people to the site. That's just to get the idea planted in their mind, and they're going to buy at various amounts of time after they came to your site the first time. They're going to do it on their schedule, not yours. And that can be months and months into the future. So when you start to advertise and you're saying, why isn't it working? Unless they're buying something where they're typing in a specific model of TV, where they know the exact TV that they want, and they're doing last minute cross comparisons on price, and therefore they wouldn't be typing in that exact model of TV if they weren't ready to buy it. They're not going to buy from you right away at a very high rate, and you got to wait for your advertising to work, and it can be months before you see the return from a click on average. So the first month's worth of advertising you do on a new campaign, that data tells you nothing about how effective, what traffic source you got those users from. You got to wait 6 months to see what happened to that set of visitors, whether or not they came back and bought or not. So that's the big problem. Another big problem why these softwares don't actually work is people who buy offline don't count. So if you have a business where purchases are able to be done through the phone, or people call and you put yourself the order through the phone, that breaks the tracking as well. Also, if you're saying, you know, I have a shopping cart and everybody buys through my shopping cart, but what about the big orders, the businesses that want to buy in bulk? You send those people a custom quote, don't you? And then when they buy, they send through, they don't buy through the shopping cart that $10,000, $20,000 order. What about those? Well, that doesn't get picked up by the software. And then your software has a flaw in it. It doesn't understand how to help you optimize for big customers. It's going to optimize for small customers because that's all it sees. So that's another big flaw, or fly in the ointment, to these softwares, if you will. To boil this all down to one simple concept, what I just basically said, the more expensive your product or service is, the less accurate this software is going to become. And if you sell something particularly expensive, we're talking about like 4 figures or more, software is total shit. If you're selling something for 20 bucks, it can be somewhat semi-useful, and that is because the more expensive what you sell, the longer the average time it's going to take for somebody that you market to come back and make their purchase after their first visit. And the longer it's been, the more likely they are to switch devices, the more likely they are to delete their cookies, the more likely they are to tell somebody else to buy it for them, and so on and so forth. All of which are going to not show up in your conversion tracking inside your software itself. So most people aren't selling $20 doodads. So the software doesn't work at all. That's why I said this isn't clickbait here. Does not work. Okay? There's alternatives, but it's not these softwares, which I'm going to explain in a second here. But some other stats before I do tell you what your better solution is for tracking, which is free, by the way. As they say in life, by the way, the best things in life is free. It applies to tracking conversions from all your traffic sources on your website. Anyway, there's some stats out there that show, see, because I know what you're basically also maybe saying at this point. But Corey, I know my users don't switch, they typically buy right away. If somebody switches devices, in other words, if they find you on a mobile phone, then they go buy at a desktop, same person, these softwares are not going to see it. And the reality is a lot of people are doing that because they're not buying on the first visit, and even if it's 2 days later when they buy, the chances that they're going to switch devices before they buy is still pretty damn high. To explain how high, I have some stats from outside sources, so you don't have to take it from me. In the e-commerce world specifically, you may not be in e-commerce, so I'll cover you in a second, but in the e-commerce world, 90% of purchase decisions that were on a study from marketingcharts.com were found to be made on 2 different devices. So they had a procedure to be able to find out of the people that they were marketing to, and I don't have all the details to the study to give you here, but in general in their study they found 90% of the people who made a purchase from that e-commerce site, they were on multiple devices before they bought. That doesn't mean they necessarily bought on a second device, it meant though that before they bought, they were on 2 different devices. In other words, they visited that site on at least one other device before they bought. So that tells you the scope of how often people are going to use multiple devices in their everyday decision making in terms of purchasing items on the internet. You got to think. People get on computers at work. They get on computers at home. They have a phone that they're on when they're not at work or not at home. And then if they're in bed, they a lot of times have a tablet too. So they have all these devices. And these softwares don't understand that every device that that user's on isn't the same person, which screws up the tracking big time. From the same study from Marketing Charts, they found out that the average order value, or the average total of the orders that went through this e-commerce site where they did this study, were 20% higher for multi-device users. So of the people that were on multiple devices before they bought, they actually spent 20% more when they did buy than the people who were only on one device. So what this indicates is people who are going to make bigger purchase decisions are going to do it after they've been on multiple devices checking your site out. So, or another way why this is relevant is because this shows you of the biggest customers you actually want to optimize for, you're not going to see it your tracking software here, because it doesn't understand that the 2 visits from 2 different devices were 2 different people, or the same person, I mean. So the most critical sales that you want to track are going to be tracked by your software, because the bigger sales, they usually go on more than one device to make the purchase. The ones where they go on one device only before they purchase are the smaller orders. So that's another big issue. Now, if you're not doing e-commerce, by the way, there was a study done by eConsultancy here that showed 40% of users switch devices to finish any activity. We're talking about if you're going to register for something, buy a plane ticket, call to book a cleaning service, anything where it's not like a broken toilet and you either get it right now or never, you could expect 40% of the users are going to be on multiple devices before they decide to buy from you or order from you or register from you. So even if you're not in e-commerce, basically 40% of your users at least are going to be on more than one device, and the software is going to at least not pick up 40% of your sales. Routinely, just to let you know, at our firm, and this is another thing that kind of aggravates me about what we do here at our agency, doing PPC management. I tell clients all the time, this particularly comes up when we do revenue share deals, where we partner with the company and say, hey, we'll take 1% of your future revenue of your company and we'll do all your PPC. And we'll grow that company like crazy. But we always got to tell people up front in those situations that I know you would like to only pay me 1% on the sales that come from PPC, but through Google Ads alone, for e-commerce businesses, but also lead generation businesses, but particularly for e-commerce, between 1/3 and 2/3 of the sales that the Google Ads tracking says you get is not even picked up by the Google Ads tracking. And people, they cling on to the conversion tracking being like gospel. It doesn't work that way. It's still not accurate, and that's Google's own data. And if you think that's bad, what's these softwares going to do? Even worse. So you got to realize these softwares and the tracking, online conversion tracking as a whole is not perfect by any means. What it does do is it gives you some leading information to understand with enough data coming through what ads work versus another ad, and to what degree, what keywords work versus another keyword, and so forth. It does not tell you how much money you're making. And even though all systems are not perfect, the ad platforms are a much superior option to these outside conversion tracking softwares to tracking the conversions, because they could track cross-device purchases. So if you start out on a phone, clicking on the ad, and then later on, 2 days later, buy from your desktop device, Google is going to understand the person who did those 2 visits to your site, one on a phone, one on a desktop, are the same people. Why? Because you're going to be logged into the same Gmail account when you're doing it, or through the power of machine learning and sophisticated algorithms, they're going to tie together those 2 people. The fact is, if you're logged into Gmail on your phone and you visit the same location as your desktop device, they could pair that, they could conclude that it's the same person basically. And there's a lot of other more sophisticated algorithms they have to understand which devices are linked to the same people, so you can actually do cross-device conversion tracking. So the half or more people that are going to switch devices before they buy a load, Google's going to understand it for the most part, even though they're still not going to be perfect, but a hell of a lot better than these outside softwares like Hyros, which tries to say that they're going to do it better than these ad platforms, what converts and so forth. And so use the ad platforms, and then if you wanted a centralized dashboard that's going to show you all of your traffic sources side by side and the profitability of each, you could still get that through Google Analytics, and actually it's free to do. A lot of people don't understand you could do pretty much everything that these softwares do with Google Analytics. You just have to be able to port your information into Google Analytics from outside. By nature, it already by default shows you conversions by source. You just got to hook up your conversion tracking inside Google Analytics. But any other supplementary data that you want to have in a same centralized dashboard, you could, through Google's API system or import system, import the data and build whatever dashboard you want right in Google Analytics. So there's zero reason why anybody needs to use these softwares despite all the weaknesses that they have that the ad platforms are going to have. And furthermore, if you use Google Analytics itself, you could then be using Google's data, which is also going to be better, so to say. Now, some of you guys may say, well, Google, these platforms could pull the data from the ad platform in order to post in the conversion tracking software. That might be okay. But why are you even paying for that software if that same exact thing can be done in Google Analytics? So if all you're going to do is just pull the information out of Google Ads and Facebook Ads and so forth and put it into one platform, just do that in Google Analytics. It does the same exact damn thing, and it's free. So, and certainly don't use the conversion tracking of these ad platforms because it's going to suck for all the reasons I said. They give you UTM tags to put on the end of your ad URL, so when somebody gets to your site, they can tell you where it's from. That only works, like I said, if they either buy right away or they buy on the same device when they later on come back. And that's not nearly enough to really get the full value from your ad spend. The full value from your ad spend is achieved when you're getting the maximum data from your ads on what worked or what didn't work, because it takes a certain amount of data to be built up before you're going to be able to understand how to make money with your ads. You could think of running your ad account like filling up a piggy bank. $1 at a time, when that bank gets full, you'll be able to cash out from those ads because it'll tell you the 10 to 20% of what you're doing that works, and the other 80% that does it, and you can just weed out the stuff that doesn't work, and you've got a profitable campaign that'll run for years now because you invested in the data that you needed to get it to actually work. A lot of people just expect their stuff to work right away, and if it doesn't, they're going to quit like babies. And that's, you know, there's people that make the ads work, and there's ones that don't. People that want to get it to work immediately, they don't make any money. People that do, they stuck through it for a few months, and they had the position that I'm going to stick with this long enough to understand how it can work. That's how you win running online ads. And if it were as easy as putting it on a credit card and instantly getting rich, everybody would do it. There'd be no opportunity there. So the person with the most long-term view is the one that's going to get the millions of dollars in sales that can be achieved if you're just patient enough to wait to understand how to run your ads correctly. So, and as a side note, I didn't even talk about browsers, these softwares will try to use cookies to track users. 20% of web browsers also, don't even accept cookies. So automatically right off the top, you can't do anything with that. Whereas if it's through Google itself, because Google has so much of its own first-party data, even if you can't drop cookies on the user's browser, they can still track those people. So for like a million different reasons here, Google, Facebook, they're going to be able to understand a lot more who's coming back and buying than what these ad platforms are going to do for you itself. Same thing with, less or so, but, same thing with LinkedIn ads and other, mainstream platforms like Twitter ads, because they have their tentacles out there. They can understand about users better than what these small little conversion app companies are actually going to be able to provide you. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll wrap it up with that. If you enjoyed this video, I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other money-making strategies on how you can get rich running online ads for your company. So if you want to get rich, subscribe to this channel, learn the stuff that I know works to guarantee results for our clients. I manage dozens of PPC accounts on an ongoing basis, Facebook ads, Google ads, all that. And I give you the working strategies on this channel on a platter here. Other people telling you what to do, they're YouTubers. They're not ad strategists, or they only have a couple accounts to manage. You're not getting it from an ad agency owner directly that strategizes all their clients' accounts directly. It's the best information you're going to find on YouTube. I got a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog if you want a bit more information for myself that I've also authored. If you're looking for somebody who knows how to do PPC management, by the way, we guarantee results for our clients. If you want to see if I could work for free on your account until we get you so much traction on it, reach out to my firm at guaranteeppc.com. I'll be happy to look over your stuff. We don't work with everybody, but I'd be happy to see if we can work together and provide you and take a chunk of the action on the sales increase we can get for your company, basically. If you have any questions, by the way, of anything I covered here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. Feel free to ask me any PPC-related questions that are not related to conversion software that you'd like. I'll try to help you out. So I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next video where we have another great strategy for you there. See you later.